We're just over halfway through 2019 and we've already seen some amazing games. Whether you agree with that statement or not, you've got to admit there's been a ton of major releases, and with some companies saving their heavy hitters for the back end of the year, the likes of Pokemon Sword and Shield, Death Stranding and whatever that new Call of Duty thing is, we thought it would be a great idea to talk about our favourite games this year so far. This is probably the most subjective discussion in video games. What is the best game? Or at least, what's your favourite game? So, whilst we're chatting away, feel free to jump into that comment section and let us know what your favourite game of 2019 has been so far.
So my first favourite game of the year is none other than Resident Evil 2 Remake. I was looking forward to this game for a very, very long time. They announced it years ago, and then they finally brought it out at the start of 2019, and I think it's still the highest rated game on Metacritic, OpenCritic, so far in 2019. If that doesn't tell you how good it is, I don't know what will, but I'll try and explain. It's, a remake of Resident Evil 2, that original game on the PS1, and it has Leon and Claire from the original, and it's a fully recreated version of Raccoon City with the police station, zombies. It made Resident Evil scary again, which many people thought was impossible, and it proved survival horror can be done in a modern game, which a lot of people were doubting as well. I liked it so much I played it through not once, not twice, but 6 times I played Resident Evil 2 Remake, because it was that addictive. There was something about it almost had like a roguelike mentality to it, where it was, you wanted to do one more run. I kept wanting to improve my ranking. I got S rank on hardcore for both Leon and Claire. I did Tofu, the special game mode you unlock at the end. As a big fan of, Resident Evil 2, the original, is one of my favourite games of all time, and so there was a pretty high bar for this remake to clear. Not only did it clear it, it leapt over it and jumped into, happiness. I thought that's a shit metaphor, but oh well. And it was just like perfection for me. As a Resident Evil fan, it's exactly what I want from a modern Resident Evil game. Importantly, it proved Resident Evil can still be scary, and it proved Resident Evil is still a great franchise that has stood the test of time. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys survival horror games, or you're just looking for a good action game. It's very good. Mr. X, the Tyrant, has become an icon in his own right now. Just play it. It's very, very good.
That day, I pulled you from the battlefield. I had no idea what you'd become.
So without question, the best game I've played this year, 100% is Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, and despite the fact I was absolutely raging at the end, and actually I was beyond the state of rage. I was almost like paralyzed by how angry I was because of the final boss, and that might be a little spoiler there, but I consider it a warning if you're considering playing the game and you've never played a Dark Souls game or anything before. I didn't feel angry, but I knew that that's what it was. It was a really weird experience. But despite all that, Sekiro is just an absolute stroke of genius. It's the best melee combat system I think I've played. That's including Bloodborne. Just a studio that's just flexing. It's like, yeah, we'll completely change the game. Just like a couple of simple rule changes absolutely changes everything. Like you need to chuck, if you've played Dark Souls, you have to chuck that out the window. In the same way you had to do that when you went to Bloodborne, you got to chuck Dark Souls out the window. Everything, exactly the same thing happens here, but in a completely different way. The game is about samurai and you're a shinobi, so you have to, the way that they channel that character in the gameplay, like patience and discipline and knowing when to attack and stuff, the way they make you play the game like that is just like phenomenal. It's so good. And it's just steeped in lore and stuff. The story is a bit more like, explicit and in your face than it has been before, like with From Software games, but it is just unreal. It's such an achievement in every single department: storytelling, gameplay, and a studio who's hitting like legendary heights, like a studio that's just defining a genre on its own, still coming up with the goods and still producing like amazing stuff. It's just an absolute marvel of a game, really. And again, despite the fact that I hated it for portions of it, especially the bit with the ape, I was angry. I've not, even with Bloodborne, Dark Souls, I do get annoyed and stuff, obviously. Like it's annoying when you die to a boss over and over again and stuff. But in this game, I was just in again, elevated levels of anger. Like, I just don't know. I just can't explain how. I was so angry that I wasn't feeling the anger. I was like beyond, beyond like the frustration. But even with all that, it's still sensational. You know, you use the same sword all the way through, and yet it feels you don't feel like, oh, I wish I could use a spear, or I wish I could use different types of swords, or you don't feel stuff like that. It gives you plenty of tools to be messing around with, and you feel like a close relationship with the sword by the end of it, because, you know, that's the way they design the game. And that's what's really impressive. Like, they design the game with something in mind, and they completely nail it. It's not like they're trying to, in certain games will try and make you feel dread or tension or something. They try and make you feel like a samurai, like they try and make you feel like a shinobi. They try and make you feel like you're you know, both strong but also really vulnerable, and they completely nail it. So it's, you know, best game of the year that I've played, I reckon.
Slay the Spire is a bit of a tricky game to pin down. It's been in early access for like 2 years. I think it was November 2017 that it was released on PC out of early access in January of this year. Came to PlayStation 4 in May. It came out on the Switch in June. So all things considered, it's had about 3-4 launch dates. So because of that, it can't correlate all the hype in one place and put it out. So you might not have even heard of this game, but the reviews for it are great. Everyone who's playing it seems to like it, and it's managed to do something that I don't think many games have done. It's mashed a roguelike, which is something that relies on single runs and the feeling of starting again, and something that's very refreshing in those types of games, with deck building, which is the complete opposite of that. It's like building stuff up long term. How many Magic the Gathering or Pokemon players do you know that throw away their cards every 6 months? None. So the idea of trying to make people throw away things that they're supposed to be hoarding every single time they play it and pull it off is amazing. If you haven't clocked yet, Slay the Spire is a roguelike game that focuses on deck building, and you play as one of 3 characters who try to ascend this spire, discover the secrets within it over a series of instances which are either battles, quests, or a light bit of shopping. It's a very, very addictive game. I spent a lot of time playing it on the Switch during travels, and I can't get off it. The 3 different characters have got 3 different play styles, so it really suits who you are as a player. The art style is like this kind of like faux 3D. It's not movement based at all. You know, it just kind of visualizes the combat using a 2D plane, but all of the ascension of the spire is done via a series of like overworld map kind of clicking. You decide which path you go down. So there's no movement, there's no platforming, no elements like that. You're only inside the battle menu, you're on the world map, or you're looking at your cards to either upgrade, transform, or remove. It's a game where you can play it however you want, wherever you want to try and amass as many cards in a run as possible, or maybe you want to just reject cards and only stick with 5 that you like and keep upgrading them. There's just something really addictive about it. I can't put my finger on it, and it's managed to like make 2 worlds collide that probably shouldn't have collided. Not in a melancholy way, just in a very, very interesting way. Yeah.
新しいゴシックの未来を作りましょう。あなたは私の夜の軍団に来るべきだ。
And my second favourite game of the year is actually quite a recent one. It came out a few weeks ago, and it's Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is the sort of spiritual successor to Castlevania that was kickstarted many, many years ago. It was, I believe it might have been like 2013, 2015 it was kickstarted, and it kept getting delayed. People were unsure if it was going to live up to the hype, because in between that time we had games like Mighty No. 9, which, you know, turned out to be pretty much disasters. And so people were a bit skeptical of Bloodstained before it came out. Then it finally came out in 2019, and it was everything you could have wanted from a modern day Castlevania-like. So it was developed by Koji Igarashi, who he was like the mastermind behind all the Castlevania games, or the good ones at least. You know, he was responsible for Symphony of the Night, Aria of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, all the like fan favourites were pretty much, it was him who was behind it all. And yeah, he proved that you can still make a Castlevania type game and still have it be fantastic. It controls really well. The story is pretty decent. It's got some good lore to it. Gameplay is spot on. It's pretty much like an expanded version of Dawn of Sorrow, if you ever played that one. It's less Symphony of the Night, more like the GBA Castlevanias, but that's fine, because they were my favourite ones anyway. And it's pretty much Metroidvania done to perfection, if you ask me. The music's fantastic, the visuals are good. I know a lot of people didn't like the visuals at first, but they went back and redid them just to like prove people, you know, we can do it. It's just a very good game all round, very addictive. I think I might go for another playthrough of it, try and do boss rush mode, stuff like that. I highly recommend it to anyone who's played a Metroidvania game and likes them. In a year of great Metroidvanias, we've had Dead Cells, we've had Hollow Knight. This is my favourite Metroidvania. Bloodstained is like the king of them all, in my opinion. And I'd highly recommend it to anyone who has a passing interest. Give it a go. It's really, really good.
So the other game that I really need to pick out as the best game, despite the fact that I haven't finished it, is Outer Wilds, because I've had an amazing time with it, and it was it's one of the, I just love these games where it just sort of comes out of the blue for me. Anyway, I read a couple of articles, I read like Rock Paper Shotgun stuff saying this is like the best game I've ever played, which, you know, you hear about 6 times a year, but this one was about a space game, so I was interested. The way that it does stuff that you've seen a million times before, in terms of like, you know, you have a 20-minute run and then you just reset and you go again, and there's so many games doing that sort of thing, and every one of them is interesting in their own way, but the way this way does it, trying to do for me what No Man's Sky was trying to do, but in a completely different way, by giving you a finite amount of space. There's one like solar system that you can explore and stuff, and it's got a certain amount of planets and things, but the way the story just unravels to you, like over the course of these runs, it starts off really like, you think one thing, and it starts off almost like rare Nintendo 64 vibe to it or something to begin with for some reason. Maybe it's the NPC designs and stuff, but everything feels like wooden and you know, I mean actually made out of wood, not like stiff, and it feels like quite nice and charming and stuff. But then it's like they're quite tragic things going on when you think about what's happening, and there's like loads and loads of layers to it, and it's the kind of game where you just want to keep on. You don't mind that the thing is resetting like every 20 minutes like this. You just want to get back out there and see where you're getting to, and you'll find something and you'll go, oh my god, that's that, and then the first thing you want to do is go back to that and try and figure that out. And like, as far as trying to give you a sense of exploration and like unraveling something, it is absolutely up there with the best. And you know, I still haven't finished it, but it's a lovely, lovely game. So that's my second choice.
Let's move! Awesome! This is the least bored I've been all day!
Second one, which I find a lot easier to talk about because everyone knows it, is Apex Legends. Not the coolest answer, probably the least cool answer on the whole list, to be completely honest with you. It's an EA published free-to-play battle royale game. I mean, these are all words that are on a lot of people's red lists, and I can completely see why. I don't know if red list is a real thing or I've just made that up. It's like not quite bad enough to be blacklisted, but red list is like, it's like a danger zone. Do you know what I mean? You hear battle royale and you're like, ooh. You hear free-to-play EA game, you're like, ooh. But no.
Red flag and blacklist.
Yeah, exactly, to make like the red list, like the warning zone. So yeah, this is a hero-based battle royale game. Everything about it on paper shouldn't be for me. I'm competing against 15-year-old kids with a lot higher skill base than me. I'm playing the same map over and over again. I'm dying a million times. There's no single-player campaign, but it's just right. It's just hooked me. It's made by like Vince Zampella and all them lot, Respawn, who made Modern Warfare 2, which I think doesn't get as much credit as you might first think, because people do remember Modern Warfare 2 as being great, but it followed Modern Warfare, which is like so highly rated. For it to even be considered okay is good. Anyway, they've been moving on to do all different things. They've got that Star Wars thing on the go. But what they did was surprise everybody with this Titanfall tie-in Battle Royale game. On paper it's shite, but everyone seems to enjoy it. I've been playing it solo, I've been playing it with you guys. I can't stop playing it. I play it every single night. It's since like the COD days that I've had to play every night. It's got to the point now where I'm recording this on a Sunday. I told my wife before I left, I'm not going to play Apex today, and she laughed in my face. That's the kind of level that we're at with this game. Something about it, the motion is smooth, the heroes have all got different skills. I think in terms of the ping system, I don't have to communicate with anyone via my voice. It's doing something very different with that. They're updating it now in a Fortnite style way with Season 2, which comes out on Tuesday. And I reckon by the end of the year, this will be my most played PlayStation 4 game ever. It would have got more hours than Binding of Isaac, Destiny, things like that.
So there we go, that's a list of at least a few of our favourite games this year. We tried to limit it to 6, and then we asked on Twitter, and look at all these good answers that we didn't include. Katana Zero was a favourite, Hades is on there, Graveyard Keeper, Get Indie Gaming's got involved and upstaged us on our own video. Look at that, he's made a list that's bigger than our list. Ape Out, Katana Zero, Children of Morta, Luca Born of a Dream and the Switch. If you want to get involved, you can follow us on Twitter. It's at Hey Special Moves. We've also got podcasts that we put out once a week, and if you're a patron for as little as $1 a month, we put out another podcast every 2 weeks. It's pretty much just us moaning about films and telly, but if you want to check that out, feel free to do so. If you want to support us without giving you some money, just tell your friends, subscribe, leave some comments, leave some more lovely comments. All the comments are really nice. And we'll see you in the next video. Cheers very much. Take it easy. Bye-bye.